Welcome to the Igniting Change podcast. My name is Duncan Cook, founder of Three-Sided Cube, trusted technology partner for some world-changing organizations. We know the power that technology has to have a positive impact on people's lives. But on this podcast, myself and my co-hosts Puff and Sophie are out to meet the people behind the technology, hear their stories and understand what drives them, and hopefully inspire others to join the mission and do some good in the world.
Well, thank you so much for coming on Igniting Change. I'm really excited to have you on the show. And this is your first podcast, not to put the pressure on, but I'm very excited that you're here and that you're talking with us. So thank you very much. But Michelle, did you want to introduce yourself? So tell us who you are, what organization you're with, and what that entails.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. As you mentioned, this is my first podcast, so I'm really excited myself. My name is Michelle Williams, and I am the Director of Information Technology at I Am Boundless. Um, a little about me, and then I'll dive into what Boundless does. Um, let's see. I've been in IT for many, many years, probably more years than I'd like to admit. I've managed people since, 2007. So for the past 16 years, I've been a people leader. I started my career in the 80s and in a call center. So like for billing and customer support. And interestingly enough, while I was there was a very small IT team that was located there. And when there were problems with the system, they would come to me and ask me to test fixes for them because I would find the problems and report them back to them. So that kind of propelled me into software testing. So from there, I kind of became software testing and then went through a variety of roles throughout my career. A lot of my roles were at insurance companies. So I worked at Ohio State Life, Nationwide Insurance, and Grade Insurance, all of those roles being in IT. I've been in systems and business analysis, product management, as I mentioned, software testing, quality and risk management, had a lot of project management background as well. And then that kind of took me to where I'm at today, which is leading this IT team here at Boundless. Now, I will say that there are a couple reasons why I'm at Boundless. One is the mission for the people that we serve, and the second one is I'm actually working for a gentleman that I've worked for. This is the third time I've worked for him, so we have very similar, ideals and as far as giving back to the community and wanting to make a big impact. So I'd always spent time myself personally doing things like maybe volunteering at a food shelter or something along those lines, but I wanted to do more than that. So working at this nonprofit definitely makes me feel like I'm giving back even more to our community.
Which is wonderful. And the gentleman that you're working with, you say this is your third time working with him, so obviously you are very aligned in terms of
We
ways of working and obviously what drives you both.
Yeah, we are, and he's a wonderful boss. He's a wonderful leader. His name is Rick Nyberger. He's the vice president of analytics and technology here at Boundless. So I'm humbled to be working here at Boundless because of the mission, as well as thrilled that I'm working for him again. So I've been here 2 years now, part of
Do you
this
know,
organization.
it's so important, and actually that's something that it does come up time and time again, especially in these podcasts when we sit and chat to people. But actually, it's so important to have people that inspire you, incredible leaders that can help you achieve your full potential and the impact that you're meant to achieve, essentially. And you've obviously moved about with him, and this happens. This is more common than not, I think. And
I think
it
so.
it gets forgotten actually how important that is to have how important those people are, because they're the reason how well part of the reason incredible talent goes to these incredible organizations that want to have this incredible impact. So amazing. Shout out to Rick. I'm sorry
Yeah.
sorry for embarrassing you.
No, no, no. I mean, I think that's true. We build networks, right? I mean, it's one thing that I'm not sure that everybody understands is really important in careers, and I didn't for a long time, was building networks. It was hard for me, and I thought, oh, I don't need this. I can, I can survive on my own, and it really is something that is, when you think of it the right way, is more beneficial because it helps when you have those individuals, and I've had many other leaders within the organizations that I work for besides Rick as well, but they help to, they give you great feedback, whether it be positive or constructive, and you have the opportunity to learn and grow from that. So I think all of us as leaders, when we get those opportunities, should take advantage of them.
And I totally support that wholeheartedly. But I think that the point you raised there about just how important your network is, and it's funny how you should say, oh, it took you a while to realize the importance, or the
Hmm.
impact your network could have and get like could give to you, I guess. And I was probably the same. I think there's quite a few people out there that probably are in the same boat. So if you're listening to this, please don't underestimate the importance of or how powerful your network can be, because quite often, and I hate to say it, it's that phrase of, it's not what you know, it's who you know, because they will really help you achieve what you need to achieve or what you want to achieve, certainly.
Yeah. Yeah. And another little small fun fact about me that people do find interesting, not so much now as they used to, is that I actually do not have a formal education. So I do not have a college degree. I'm just a high school graduate, and I'm just a hard worker and somebody that is analytical and driven by wanting to be successful and to lead people. And while I know I might have had to work a little bit harder to get places because of that, because sometimes getting your foot in the door is harder, that's where that network comes in, even and makes it is even more important because they know you, right? So once they get to know you, they're like, you don't necessarily need that formal education.
I I would definitely agree. And I want to correct you there, Michelle, because you said, just I've just done this or I've just done that. Oh my gosh, stop saying the word just. You are not justifying anything. I think you're incredible. You've obviously achieved a lot in terms of your career, but in terms of the impact that you've had at these organizations. And I imagine
Yeah.
you've inspired people along the way. And I would agree with you. I think especially now, it's almost 50-50 as to those individuals that have a degree or not, or don't have a
Yeah.
degree. It's the experience is amazing, and I'm not knocking it. And for anyone going down that path, please carry on. Don't
Yes,
listen
please,
to
please, please do.
yeah. I'm not trying to put you off, but there are ways to get to the same kind of get on the same path without going down that path, or without going down that route. And I think you have to be a little bit more creative, a little bit more entrepreneurial. And as you say,
Yeah.
Michelle, leaning on your network is just one example of one of the levers that you can pull to get to the same place. And I agree with you somewhat as well, in terms of you might have to work a little bit harder, but it's maybe thinking a bit more creatively about how you
Yeah.
can achieve the same goal. And I almost think it kind of makes you more competitive in a way, because you have to think more creatively. You have to think
Maybe.
differently.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
anyway,
Um,
tell us about the organization, Michelle. Tell us
okay.
about I Am Boundless.
All right. Well, I do want to talk just one more thing. I have a pretty modest IT team at this point in time. We are growing, but we're a pretty small team. And our team specifically, and what we do is mainly ensure that our employees can be successful by having the technology that they need. So, from that perspective, it's more of network connectivity, Making sure locations are up and running, equipment like laptops, iPads, hotspots, phones, and those types of things. We also are validating and looking for cyber threats all throughout the day too, because we've got to make sure that, those types of things they happen on a regular basis. So we have to monitor that. Now, if I talk a little bit about Boundless, so anybody can go out to iamboundless.org and find information on us. But Boundless is a nonprofit company with more than 40 years expertise in providing person-centered care for people with intellectual disabilities and developmental disabilities, as well behavioral health challenges. Our main campus is in Worthington, Ohio, and we have several other campuses in Medina, Perrysburg, Youngstown, and West Carrollton. But we have a lot of locations and a lot of care facilities in the state of Ohio. We just added Koinonia Homes to our company. So they're based in Independence, Ohio, and they provide some additional services in the IDD space as well. So we're thrilled that was actually official on October 1st. So we are right now trying to do things like merge email domains and, programs and understand how to work together and so forth. So we're excited to have them as part of our company. Some of the programs that we offer, so I'll start with, we have an after school and day programs. Those programs are designed to meet unique needs. And it helps kids that are have on the spectrum or have spectrum disorders and developmental challenges. Our health providers do things like a mix of art programs, maybe music, puzzles, games, and things like that. They do outdoor adventures. And that helps the kids kind of practice and understand emotional management, how to get their feelings under control, and it increases positive behavior and improves self-esteem and their confidence. That's just one of the many programs that we offer. We have a Boundless Healthcare Center. So on our campus in Worthington, we have a healthcare center now. It's been open. I'm going to say, let's see, I've been here 2 years. I think we kind of officially launched it about a year ago. It is a primary and preventative health care center, and it does focus on families and individuals with intellectual disabilities, but it also offers primary care to anybody.
Oh, wow.
Anybody can utilize the center there and our doctor. Now, I will say that our doctor and nurses are, they are very specific in understanding the challenges that's part of the community that we serve. So, they have to obviously they're well trained. The center itself has things like curved walls so that when patients come in, they're not put off by sharp angles. All the doors are soft closed so that there's not anything that's startling in the environment. So there's a lot of thought put into the design of that, of the center. And then you can get anything like, COVID shots and medicine testing, anything like that at our center. And we're getting ready to add a dental practice. So we've been working on the dental practice for a while, and it's, we had a little bit of a pilot with it a while back, and then, took a hiatus, and now we're opening that back up in October. We have a doctor or a dentist that will be starting with us. I think many people don't understand the challenges that individuals that have intellectual disabilities, it's really hard for them to get dental care. So it's something that's really important for us to be able to provide that as well. So I think we have 6 bays. So, but we only have one dentist starting for now. So we'll start small and hopefully can build that out as well.
Which is the right strategy to have, right? So, and I think actually it's such a good point, and it's just made me stop in my tracks and think, to get tailored dental care when, if your child's facing particular challenges, like, that's incredible that you're going to be able to offer that again, which
Yeah.
is amazing.
Yeah,
Very.
especially since it's not something, some dentists, we've had, patients that we serve, families, as well as I'm sure board members that have family members that have, they've tried to get dentists for the individuals and their family members, and it's just dentists are they're not trained and they don't understand how to handle the situation, so it's just really really difficult. So I'm hoping that's going to be something that's really going to be awesome.
It will be. It's going to be great, and it sounds like you're very very busy. And I was
Oh
just thinking about the timings as well, because you say you've been here about 2 years, and actually that was, I guess, would I dare say it, like post COVID, not post COVID, but when probably a lot of organizations became very reliant on remote working and trying
yeah,
to manage that. I know certainly our organization went remote overnight, which caused challenges, and we're a tech company, So
yeah.
how did your organization find that? And is that kind of where your roles kind of come about, to kind of make sure everything was in place, or did the role
Uh,
exist before that?
when I joined, we were still in the midst of COVID,
Okay.
but on the backside of it. So my second year was August of 2023. I so when I started, I was working remote. If we were in the office at all, we were wearing masks still, and we were filling out COVID questionnaires. How do you feel today? Do you have a temperature, kind of thing? So obviously, from a technology perspective, having joined at that point in time, it was making sure that those iPads are working so people can fill those out, and those types of things. But we at the same time we were developing the health center on campus, moving the IT team to a different location so they had more room. So there was a lot going on, and then over the 2 years that I've been here, it's just been constant
Yeah.
change, constant improvement. And the health center launching, our campus has been completely redone. It's beautiful, and so I think now, though, luckily, we can go into a location um, without having to wear masks. Of course, we follow any guidelines that we need to from a government perspective because we're a healthcare organization. But at the moment, we're currently not masking, so that, that's
Which
that's good
which is
news.
good. Hopefully we can all stay that way, and hopefully it will
Yeah,
be fine. Oh, I touch wood, making sure that everything is
I
going.
know.
So talk to me about I Am Boundless and the organization, and how you guys use tech for good. So what does that mean for you guys?
Yeah, one of the things that I want to talk about is there's a couple areas I want to focus on. One is we talked about the iPad deployments, and we use a lot of iPads in care facilities, and it could be used for by an individual that's playing a game. It could be used by somebody that's prescribing medication or something along those lines. But one of the things that we're testing out right now, so we have a speech team that are on campus, and they are regularly testing out new apps that are available. And one of the new apps that is called TD Snap, and it's an app where somebody that has speech challenges can actually use that to help them communicate. So it might have icons or pictures on it that they can select and help them to communicate. So currently testing that out as part of our assistive tech program.
Which is awesome. So are the team actively going out and looking at all apps in the market, or is it within your supplier list? How does that work?
It's interesting. We try, so it's usually the team that is providing the service. So they are the closest and the nearest and dearest to those to what's going on. So they'll hear about a new app, and then they'll let us know, and they'll say, hey, we'd like to test this out. So we vet it obviously from a security perspective to make sure everything's okay there, and then load it onto the app or purchase it for them depending upon what the cost is. Obviously, in our iPads we have self-service portals for the staff that work. So we try to have apps there that are pre-approved so they can download those and utilize those for what they need. Obviously, they're doing time clocks and so forth on those, but for helping the individuals, it could be something like Fruit Ninja. I mean, it really can be a variety of things.
Amazing, amazing. And can you repeat the name of the app that you're trialing at the moment?
It's called TD Snap.
TD Snap. Okay, amazing. And I'm going to take a look at that like later after this because I'm curious. It's amazing. Great shout out there. Thank you, Michelle.
You're welcome. Then the other one I wanted to talk about is the Boundless Smart Home. So you can go out and you can Google Boundless Smart Home, and you can find some videos of Ryan Burnett walking through the home and explaining some of the technology that's in there. So we have what's known as a smart home, and it's part of the assistive tech team. Now, the assistive tech team at our organization is part of our overall programs. So they actually reside on the program side, not sitting on the tech side. Obviously, they pull us in if they need any help. But for the most part, a lot of times we use a lot of vendors and software as a service for what we do. We don't develop apps or software in house. So the smart home is set up at Kimberly Woods. That's one of our properties, and it's equipped with a lot of different a lot of different tech stuff. And some of it is things that we use on a regular basis, like maybe something that's enabled by Alexa or a smart TV. So we have those things, but we also have the ability to do monitoring. So I'll kind of go through this a little bit and talk about, the reason to have any type of these technologies is to help provide independence. So some of the individuals may need more assistance than others. So having these types of any type of smart device definitely, or technology device is going to allow them to be more independent on their own. So the smart home has they work with a company called NextGen AT that provides remote monitoring, and they train staff to be able to do that. And just make sure that things are okay. They have motion sensors, door alerts, temperature and water detectors, just different things that to make sure everything in the home is okay. But the other things that are at the smart home, and like I said, some of these are things that we might have in our own home, like Samsung smart refrigerators and TVs, right? So sometimes you can just say, hey, TV, play this for me, which is very nice. There are things like stoves. So there's a smart range that has an automatic safety shut off. So if I'm standing in front of the stove, it's fine. But when I walk away or I move away from the stove, it will only stay on for so long and then it will shut off, which is fantastic in case somebody forgets, right? That
It's
they
brilliant.
have something on the stove. We have a smart microwave that is it actually will scan the barcode on food. So let's say you have a frozen dinner, like an individual dinner, you can scan the barcode and it will program and tell you how long it needs to cook. And then you can put it in and push the button.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh,
it's pretty cool.
yes.
I know, it's pretty cool stuff.
And is this bespoke to your smart houses, or is this?
I think
I assume.
you can buy this technology in the market. Yeah, I mean this is a Whirlpool smart microwave,
Yeah.
so you can buy that. There are wireless switches, so to turn on lights,
Hmm.
like they work with Alexa. There's Bluetooth scale that we have there, Ring video doorbell. There's also a deadbolt and an entry system that's really helpful. So the deadbolt you can use like a finger biometric
Hmm.
or a code. You can also code it to kind of unlock and lock as it's being approached. So if somebody's say in a wheelchair, obviously the door will open on its own, but also it will close and lock as well. So those things are pretty neat. as I mentioned, a lot of those work with Alexa. There's more in there, but the cool thing about it is that families can schedule an overnight visit. They can come and stay and learn about all those things, and then they can decide whether or not they would like to have something like that to help with their family.
Which is incredible, because it's almost because a lot of this technology, I would imagine some of it can be quite expensive. So actually trying it before you invest
Yeah.
in it is a really sensible approach. But I loved something that you said earlier, and it was bringing it back to the why. So it was bringing it back to the whole goal of this is to give people more independence, right? You're
Yes.
ultimately changing their life by giving them the independence. And I think sometimes, especially with new technology, it can be, you get excited about, like I got excited about the microwave scanning the barcode and it just doing it
Yeah.
all for you. That sounds really amazing. But actually, I need to pause, and it's like, well, do I need that? Like, what's the why for me? The why's not really there for me. Like, yes, convenience, it might be nice, but actually that technology is perfect for people that it could really, really help, and it really could help them with the independence. And I think too often with new technology, we just get carried away by the actual technology itself rather than the why. And I loved how you started with the why. And it's like, well, this is why we do this. And I think
Yeah.
that's really important.
Thank you. Yeah, it's pretty exciting stuff. It's pretty cool. And like I said, people can go spend the night. They can just take a tour. They can reach out and ask to take a tour of the home and see how things work. So it's pretty exciting, especially if you think that somebody who might be living in a facility that's shared with other individuals at some point in time may be able to go out on their own and be in a place where if they have some of that technology, their families feel safer. They feel comforted that they have that to support them.
It really is changing people's lives for the better. Like, it's in absolutely incredible. And I guess it's a wonderful opportunity to try new technology, this new stuff coming. There's always something
Oh,
new. That I mean, I didn't even know about the microwaves. The stove idea I thought was incredible as well. But I guess technology is always changing, and there's always new appliances, always new smart things that you can do to your house. And I've almost lost track of it myself. So it's great that you guys have got a place where you can test this technology before.
it is hard to keep track of it. I mean, and as technical people or a tech company, right, we're always looking for it. But not necessarily is everybody always thinking about how it really helps. Even I robot sweepers or the Roomba things that
Yeah.
you can run through your house to clean. So a lot of people use that stuff today, but it's power. While it's important, it might be important for me or you to use it. It's just even more for somebody that is trying to gain just a little piece of independence that they don't have today.
Amazing, amazing. Ah, what a great example of how your organization is using this exciting tech. Like, it's awesome. And before I move on to any other examples, is there anything else within I Am Boundless you wanted to share? And no worries if not, but I just wanted to check before I moved on.
I don't, not that I can think of.
I
I think
mean, you've got quite a lot
that was a
there.
lot.
Which is amazing. Okay, so the final part, and I always like to ask is, are there any other examples of tech for good that you want to shine a light on that maybe have inspired you or your organization, that you kind of wanted to share today?
Well, I think the big one is that everybody's talking about is artificial intelligence, right? Everybody is talking about it. I just was at a security conference and it was a very, very large topic at the cyber security conference because, everybody's using it for not necessarily something that's good,
Yeah.
right? But it is large right now. I think it's a game changer. So I was looking at, I do look at some blogs, obviously, I'm looking at different articles and so forth. And one of the ones that I read recently from HubSpot talked about um, challenges that healthcare organizations were having during COVID. So one of the things that that it exposed was that there was a huge shortage in healthcare workers, right?
Mhm.
So we still experience it today. So we still have challenges hiring today. Um, the blog also pointed out that the World Health Organization estimates a shortage of 15 million healthcare workers by 2030, which is
Wow.
huge. So AI is going to be even more important, right? It's just going to continue to grow. And a lot of people are using simple things like chat, or I shouldn't say simple things. A lot of people are using Chat GPT just to write articles. I don't know if you've used them. People in marketing, it's pretty good at writing articles. It's even pretty good at getting tech information, but you just got to check the source. But, kind of going back to the healthcare shortage and some of the things that are happening from AI perspective. There were a couple companies that I recently saw some information on, and one of those was John Hopkins University. They used AI to create a program to detect sepsis hours earlier than traditional methods. And what it does is it reduces the risk of patient deaths by 20%. So it takes patient history, the patient's medical history, current symptoms, and the most recent lab work. And then it takes all of that, combines it together, and it determines like a risk score. And then it can communicate that back. So the healthcare provider gets a more gets the information quickly, and they can make a better decision on whether or not they're at risk for
It's
it. And
basic.
that's just yeah.
Go on.
Go ahead. No, I was
No,
gonna
you.
say, and that's John Hopkins. John Hopkins did that one using
I mean,
AI.
it's incredible, and I think there's going to be a lot more examples, certainly in the healthcare space, where you've got AI being used for good. So processing large amounts of data and
Yeah,
making it really efficient, and being able to prioritize the people that are probably going to need help quicker.
yeah,
And I think that's incredibly powerful. I know there's definitely been I can't, I mean, I'm not going to go into detail because I know I'm going to get it wrong, but I'm sure it was something to do with eyesight or vision, and it was something to do with eyes. And they were using, and it was like a hospital in London, in the UK, and they were basically using AI to process like large amounts of data, because doing it manually takes too many people and it takes too long. And
yeah,
actually, by using AI, they were able to expedite the process massively. But the example that you've just given, Michelle, is incredible, because you've got some hard and fast numbers there. By increasing it by what, 20? Was it
20,
20?
reducing the risk of death by 20%. Yeah,
I mean, that's huge. That's incredible.
agreed.
But you,
The
but
oh,
go on.
go ahead. No,
Well,
that's okay.
it's funny how with AI, I love these examples of for good, but you kind of touched on it earlier in that, you have good actors playing in the space, but you also have bad actors playing in the
Yeah,
space, right?
yeah,
And there's kind of like a dark side, like an underbelly of, the bias that's in AI, and all there's lots of stuff there that I'm not going to get
yeah.
into, but
You,
it's just
yep,
like it can make a lot of people very, very nervous. And I think as
yeah,
well, when people don't know how to use certain tools, and and certain tech, I think that can make people nervous, and it can put people off trying to try new things, right? And taking a risk by trying something new. But
yeah,
actually, by sharing examples like this, is hopefully inspires people to take action and to try something new, because you can get some incredible results if you do. It has to be managed well, that being said.
yeah. Absolutely. I mean, you have to determine the risk. Hopefully, when you're using data, you're using some sort of um, not live patient data, right? Something that you can test out with to prove the hypotheses before you release it into the wild. But yeah, that it's pretty cool. And when I read that, I was like, wow, that's a lot.
Mhm.
20% is a big deal. Then the other one that I found that recently that I thought was really interesting was around it's a artificial intelligence technology called Kordy, Corti.
Okay.
And basically, what it does is it could record like a telehealth session. So, obviously, telehealth became very big during COVID, and
Mm.
it still hasn't stopped. A lot of people still do telehealth because it keeps people from having to go into a location. But it can record that session and it can start to, let's say I'm a provider, it can record multiples of my different sessions and then start to see where there can be things that either I'm missing. Maybe I missed a cue from a patient that might need some medication, long pauses, maybe they're not saying anything back. All of those things. And one thing that I found from this was that Boston, their EMS dispatch actually used this to monitor phone calls. So they have a practice of reviewing their phone calls and to make sure they've got all the information recorded right. And when they introduced this technology, this AI technology, it took that manual process of going back and listening to those calls to make sure that everything was recorded correctly or documented correctly from 1 hour to 15 minutes. Now,
Wow.
right. I mean, that's a big deal because now I can take more phone calls. I can be, available to assist somebody more quickly than maybe I had been in the past. So those are the things, and this was just a few. This blog, this HubSpot blog had 11 different healthcare companies that were using AI, and these were just a couple that I saw that I thought were really cool examples. That especially when you're saving lives and reducing
Yeah.
call time, right?
And I think it will. I think, it's kind of like the tip of the iceberg with this stuff. Like, I think over the next few years, and I think it's going to get really exciting. I mean, it is really exciting now, but it's just going to get even more exciting as we kind of progress through. Because when people start realizing the power, the potential that AI can have, especially within healthcare. And I think there is this theme of just being able to process large amounts of data and being able to prioritize cases and people and reducing risk, right? Being able to cut those phone calls checking those phone calls from an hour to 15 minutes, like that's incredible.
Yeah.
Just think about the power of that in itself and what that can mean to, like, end users, the patients, right?
Right.
I know, like,
Yeah.
it obviously affects the health providers first, but just it's incredible. And I you say that this name drop shout out to HubSpot, who we do use,
Yeah.
but but yeah, and you say that article mentions 11 others that kind of, or
11
11
other.
other
Yeah.
examples. I mean, it will be
I
rife, and I would imagine this will be the case globally, not just in the US, but UK. It'll be everywhere, I think, and it'll be amazing to start seeing more and more positive examples kind of shine through. That being said, I'm a stickler. I always like to know where it hasn't worked or where things have failed, because I think there's some really interesting lessons that people can gather or from harness from
absolutely. We
it hasn't worked. And I think people are quite often reluctant to share those examples. And I understand, I do get it. I think quite often you can learn a lot more from something that's failed rather than something that's succeeded. There's a lot of valuable lessons there.
Yeah, I mean, anything technology, we're going to fail, right? I mean, when you're writing code, testing, I mean, that's why we do what we do. If we're doing software development, we are, you know, kind of quality controlling, validating that things are working. We expect something to fail, but the biggest thing, and always when it comes to even life, is just learning from your mistakes, right? It's okay to make one as long as you learn from it. Fail forward. There's a book about failing forward, and I read many years ago, which is always, it's kind of one of those lessons I try to keep in my mind when I'm talking with my team or my children, they're grown, but my granddaughter, right? Okay, something happened. It didn't work out well. What do we learn from this? How do we move forward? So, it's a good lesson in life too.
It's an incredible lesson, and I think it's one that we should be more open about, encouraging people to share where things have failed, or if you
Yeah.
failed personally, or if the organization's failed, fine, but what have we learned from that, and how do we move forwards? And I think talking openly and honestly about this stuff and having it a part of like day-to-day conversations,
Yeah.
not like normalizes is probably the wrong word, but it it breeds a more healthy culture where people can feel like they can share these failures so that we can learn more and we can move quicker together. But
Yeah.
I think you're right. It's not just in work; it's outside of work as
It's
well.
it's everywhere.
Life. It's a very important lesson. But Michelle, look, this has been brilliant. I think you've had the smart house example for Boundless. I think is wonderful, and
Thank you.
I am definitely going to be googling and seeing more about that and reading up on that. But the two examples, I think, especially around AI, are so important, and I think are very topical right now. And I think we're only going to see more of that moving forwards. But I think for me, one of those the 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 point that you've just made, just in terms of it's okay to fail, but it's what we learn from our failures and how we take that forward. I think is really wonderful, and it's something that I do just want to take a moment to pull out and share to our listeners, because in the world of software design and development, it's never straightforward. You fail probably more often than you succeed, but actually it's you do get there in the end. But I think just talking about that openly and honestly, and you talk about it very calmly, Michelle, whereas it's not always calm. I know it doesn't always
It's
feel
not
like
it's definitely not always calm, especially if you accidentally put something in production that fails, right? And
that. And do you know what, we've all done it, like we've all been there.
yep. Yep, we've all done it. Yeah, and I think that's to kind of wrap up with AI, because I just want to say too that thinking about where we're headed, you were talking about it's going to be a lot more. I mean, we have to start thinking differently about who we hire, right? People that actually understand it and can start to utilize AI and automation and things that we do in our daily lives, and things that we're providing, how we're providing care to patients and so forth, so that so it's going to kind of evolve and change even how we hire people, right? People that have
And
to have more understanding of that, and whether or not it works or how it fails and how to recover from it, and right, experiment with it.
I definitely agree. And it won't just touch recruitment. I think it will be just ways of working and how we work
Yeah.
together as teams, because you'll have, technology is probably playing, or it will play, a more involved part of that team kind of dynamic. So what does that look like? How does that work? And it will vary in all kinds of different organizations. Everyone's doing something differently. Right now, it feels like there's no standard practice or standard process
Yep.
for how this technology is being integrated into organizations, or how organizations are using it. And I also think regulation, like that's going to
True.
change, I would imagine. Like I couldn't tell you how that is going to evolve, but I imagine it will do as well. So
Yeah, you definitely have to watch that depending upon what you're using, you don't want to feed in any information that could be pulled out
yeah.
by somebody, that one of those bad actors, right? So
Yes.
you want to make sure whatever tool that you're using or AI that you're using is aware of things like HIPAA compliance and PHI and PII, and that they're keeping those things in mind when they're developing or using that. So definitely things that we need to watch for.
Amazing. Oh, Michelle, you've been brilliant. We've loved having you on the show. Thank you so much
Thank
for your time.
you.